So this is the painting that we've been kind of working on for the past 2 days. This is day 3. Now it's time to finish all your pull-out that you didn't have time to do on Friday, and then to add your details. So there are details we could add in the clouds in the sky, and there are also details for the highlights, all of the light areas that will bring the trees even farther. Okay, so we're not finished. We're actually never finished with art. So let's remember that the pulling out can be done with watercolor. I'm just going to do like a scumbling right here. The pulling out can be done with watercolor 2, 3, 4 days later. Because why? Because watercolor is not permanent, y'all. Watercolor is not permanent. So that's why I'm doing it now. It's been sitting here for a while. So I'm just going to pull out some areas. Keep dipping your brush in the water, and just kind of go in and do some scumbled areas here and there. And then those are the areas that you'll focus on. Okay. And then remember, some of these trees, we want some trees to be in front of others. Like that one can be, you know, this one obviously is in front. Any of the branches, any of these lines that come down like this for the trunks, those are obviously going to be in the front, okay? So you're gonna kind of work on those trees. So look at the ones that you have specified that are going to be in front. See how what I'm doing? I'm just getting a paper towel, because the paper towel is the best way. I like it better. But definitely use this freshwater scumbling and then just pull out the rest. And just work on them. Yes, I'm teaching you something right now. I didn't tell you this, but I'm teaching you to kind of look at details. It's hard to get a painting 1 student sometimes to look at details, because they often just want to do it as fast as they can and just like scribble scrabble through it. You know, and just, I did it, Mrs. Olds, I'm done. Now what? Now what's next? Now what's next? So I'm trying to teach you with some of these techniques that art takes time. Art takes time. And it takes a keen eye. You have to learn how to look and to see where things need help, you know, with darks and lights. So I'm just going to do that first. So that's what I want you to work on if you have not already. Let's say you didn't have time Friday. Just work on that and figure out which ones are in front, which ones are in back. And then once you do that, you can move on to the next step. And the next step, you're going to be so excited. The next step, I'm going to let you use acrylic. And we're going to add some acrylic white on our trees. And we're going to add just a little bit in the sky, in the clouds. So get ready, because that's what we're going to do next. Okay, I've got my yellow and white acrylic here, and I've got my paper towel. So what I need to do is just keep that paper towel handy. I've dipped my brush into the water, but what I need to do, we're doing more of a dry brush, really. You don't want soppy, wet stuff on there right at this moment. So I'm just going to get some of that water out. Not all of it, but just a little bit. Start with white. I mean, you're going to do a lot of mixing here, but just start with white and just get some and then just dab it like this, okay? And I always like when I'm doing this, when my brush is kind of spread out, kind of like this, okay? Because that works better. And then what I'm going to do is find my light source. On mine, I'm saying, for me, my light is going to come down like this, okay? And so the tops of all of these branches are going to have just a little bit of white like this. So I'm going to designate anywhere I put white like that, that's going to be the top of my branches. So you can probably see how these are already coming forward right there, just that little section that I did. And then I'm just going to dip it into some more and then blot some out, take some out, and then just go through and just try to figure out where you want the top of all of these, okay, branches. All right. Please don't just do this and just go crazy. That's not what the idea is, okay? That's not the idea. The idea is to bring forward some of these branches, okay, to show where the light is shining. I'm just going to do this. There's like an empty area there. I can do that and just make that into the top of a branch. See how that works? I know that this is the middle of the tree, right? So then I'm just going to do this, but you also remember that there's branches that come right across too. So some of your white areas can just come across like that. So really I'm just going back and forth and making as many of these areas as I want to, but I'm not going to cover up all my pull-out areas. That's the last thing you want to do, is cover those up. Then I've got yellow. So then what I can do is I can take, you're going to be making different shades of whites and yellows. So maybe I've got a pretty bright yellow like that. And what I'm doing is kind of getting some out of my brush, like really kind of get some out. You don't want to have a lot. And then maybe I'm just going to go over the top like that of some with the yellow. Okay. So just play around with the white and the yellow on, and focus on, if you can, focus on just only one of these trees. Okay. Really focus on it. And if it starts getting too yellowy, just get some more white and take some of that yellow out. And just very gently and carefully get all of those areas designated. And then just see what happens when you focus on that one tree for a while. Okay? Try to get that one tree to look as realistic as possible. This is the closest tree to me. It's right smack dab in the middle. And then I'm going to make this one next. And this one, since I did that one first, right now it's in front, but this one is actually going to be done next. And so that means there's going to be some overlapping. Watch, I'll show you. There's going to be some overlapping. Some of you probably already know this if you've already taken some of my classes before. But since the first tree was done first, and this is my second tree, it is going to be overlapping a little bit on top of the first tree, which means that this tree right here is now eventually it's going to be in front of that other tree. Now, do you see what happened? Like, right, I don't like that. I hate that area right there. That's like blah. So if that happens, I just spread it out a little. You know, I can always go back in with some green. I can always go back and just take some of that white out. Don't scrub it. Whatever you do, don't be a scrubber. No scrubbing allowed. You know, and so those are going to be in front of that one, but you'll figure it out once you do it. So just work on that and see how many details you can add. Okay. And then what you want to do is the same thing, same idea for the clouds. So I'm going to rinse my brush out just to get some of that yellow out and then dry it. And then I'm going to take my white and then get some of that white out. Last thing you want to do is throw a bunch of white on here. You don't want to do that. So I'm going to scrub. Okay. I'm just going to scrub a little bit. And then I'm going to do a little bit more. It's very subtle, you guys, very subtle with the clouds. So I'm just going to do a little scrub right there and a little bit more kind of like this, just to kind of designate those edges of the clouds and make it look, it's kind of like a mist, like it reminds me of just misty, you know, misty sky. And just do like a little bit of scumbling to bring out some of those. I'll show you. Let me just do a little bit here. Let me blot that. I'm going to do just a section right here, and then I'll zoom it and show it to you, okay? Zoom it and show it to you. Now, I always teach my painting to students to work with, you know, both watercolor and acrylic. So you can definitely go back and forth. Okay. What I mean is this. See how I've been working? I was working on that cloud right there. So then I've got the white in there, and then I'm opening up this watercolor. I'm gonna do a little mixy lulu here. Okay, so then I'm gonna take, that's too dark. So then I just took a little bit of more white on there, and then watch what I'm gonna do. Just a little bit of scumble, like that. Okay, and then immediately get your paper towel and just scrub it a little bit. And that gives it like a really cool little dimension right there. And then you can do that maybe like on the bottom of your clouds, and then just a little bit in here. I usually just use my hands too, my fingers, and just work back and forth with a little bit. This is just like, I call this eyeballing it. It's Mrs. Old's word for like your own skills, you know, whatever you think works. And then you're kind of playing around with the coloring, with the shading. And as it looks good, you stop. And if it doesn't look good, then you continue to work at it, and you eyeball it, if that makes any sense. Yeah. And so whenever, you know, just working with it, and this is what artists do all the time. They work with something, and they hold it back, hold it up, and look at it at a distance. They ask a friend, how does that look? Does that look cool? You know, what do you think? And they get advice, and then they keep working on it. But that's pretty, I mean, that's a good way right there to get a realistic cloud, is just playing with it, with the lights and the darks. Okay, just subtle color. So I hope you enjoy this, and just do your best work, and then try to get it submitted by the end of the hour.